Hey sports fans, Coach Nick here and welcome to B-Ball Breakdown. Follow us on Twitter. We'll have a great conversation there every day about all your NBA questions and answers and needs and opinions. So get over there. Now let's talk about last night's amazing game between the Warriors and the Thunder. It's rare that a regular season game gives us that much drama and back and forth and good defense, even though they couldn't seem to stop each other very often. But it was an interesting dichotomy between the offenses because the Warriors rely on a five-man team concept to create shots for each other, whereas OKC tends to use isolation more and lets the individual talents try and create shots for themselves and then other people. Aesthetically, I would always choose the Warriors. As a coach, I like to see a five-man unit create shots, and we'll show you what they're doing there and how that is different than the Thunder. To give you a sense of the coaching differences, out of halftime, watch this nice set by the Warriors, getting Curry across the court with two screens. It forces a rotation by Durant, and while Klay fumbled and had to save the ball, Cephalosha got lost, and it freed up Klay for the corner three. Now let's look at what OKC ran to start the second half. It appears OKC wants to fake this pick and roll to bring Bogut out from the hoop. Problem is, we all know the Warriors run ice. You can see Klay already forcing Russ away from the screen, which also means Bogut isn't going to come out very high anyway. Clearly the only option Russ has is to pass to Kevin Durant, and Iggy makes that pass almost impossible to make. Now KD is starting the offense 45 feet from the hoop. On this sideline screen and roll though, Lee hedges high so Durant can't use the screen until Ibaka resets it to the inside. With the clock winding down, somehow Russ forces up a bank shot with his foot on the line, which is the worst shot in basketball. Now Russ had a tremendous shooting night, partially because the Warriors opted to go underneath most ball screens set for him. One of the things I find troubling with Russ is even on this gorgeous under control jump stop bounce pass for the layup, he appears angry and yelling at his teammate. And Westbrook will also have quite a few possessions like these, where he dribbles 14 times in the half court before forcing something and turning it over. It's these live ball turnovers that really kill you. And the Warriors are excellent with a five-man attack, utilizing movement to free up their shooters. Cephalosha simply cannot go over the top on this screen. He has to chase him around, force him to drive, and at least there you'll get some help. I also love the three-man action the Warriors will get with the high post utilizing the dribble pitch. First off, Collison is way too low on a shooter like Curry here, and while normally I'd love how Lamb jabs his foot to help him recover one pass away, you really can't afford to do that against a shooter like Klay Thompson. But the offense also used ISOs to take advantage of matchups when OKC switched off pick and rolls, which they did all night. And here Curry abuses Kevin Durant with a crossover step back splash. And with a player like Curry, I think you need to pick him up at half court, turn him, force him to dribble under pressure. If you sit back and let him dribble up the court free and in rhythm, this is what you're asking him to do. Here's a worse example as Russ doesn't meet him till inside the three-point line, then in an awful playground move, tries to steal the ball from behind and simply gives up a wide open 15-footer to the best shooter we've ever seen. With Ron Adams joining the OKC staff, we're starting to see some Thibodeau defensive principles, which is exciting. Here, Russ is playing ice by forcing Curry away from the impending screen, but Adams is way out of position and this allows the pretty reverse layup. Now let's talk about a player I have been trumpeting since last playoffs, and that's Harrison Barnes. I got a little bit of flack on Twitter last night by saying that within a year or two, I think Harrison Barnes will be the best player on the Warriors. He'll eclipse both Curry and Klay Thompson. And the reason why is because he's a 6'8" super freak athlete and who's got skill in the post, he's got skill ball handling and shooting, and he can play defense across four positions. And no, I don't think that, well, obviously Curry cannot do that. Klay Thompson probably won't be able to guard bigger guys either. And so that's what's going to separate him from the pack. And I truly, honestly believe that he'll be the better player of them all, the all-star, and the Warriors in turn will end up winning a ton of games and certainly contend for titles for a lot of years to come. Already, the Warriors are comfortable isolating Barnes down low in the post against smaller players, which will happen when they play him as a shooting guard in this lineup. And he has displayed some very mature moves for such a young guy. OKC switches way too easily on this pick and roll, and it gave Barnes another mismatch down low, where he takes advantage of Russ on a pretty fadeaway jumper. and he's already proven to be a league average three-point shooter, and with his mechanics, I believe he can prove this to above average shooting within a year. And anyone that can handle the ball on a move like this certainly has some serious handles. Defensively, he can guard 4 positions, and he does a good job containing Russ here until he gets stuck on a nice screen and they get a score. The Warriors got going in the third on a couple of really bad plays by Russ. First, the fumble and turnover. Now, I want you to watch how long it takes him to get back on defense. Meanwhile, his man Steph Curry is just standing by himself on the weak side. He doesn't even appear in the screen for 7 seconds, no closeout, takes himself out of the play, and Curry splashes it. Later in the third, Iguodala dodges a bullet by foolishly going under the screen on Durant. Notice how Harrison Barnes can bring the ball up and initiate the offense as well. Another simple screen, and OKC switches this too easily, allowing Barnes to abuse Russ with an ISO pull-up. Then Russ comes down, and for the life of me, I can't figure out what he thought he saw here, but he just throws a terrible pass. And rather than try and play defense, he does another playground swipe from behind intentional foul and knocks Iggy down. This is not a basketball play, this is a play by a guy who's really upset for turning the ball over. We move into the crucial part of the fourth quarter, and the Thunder switch yet another ball screen, and the Warriors try to take advantage of Russ guarding Lee. However, Ibaka offers great help defense until he collides with Lee, but there's no call. And when Reggie Jackson forces the pace, it opens up a rim run for Ibaka, who gets a putback and one. Here's another issue I see with Russ quite often. On this pin down for Durant, he's actually open 3 steps before the pass is thrown, forcing Durant to catch it much farther from the basket. KD tries the swim move, but doesn't get the call, and in transition, Russ foolishly flails his arm down on Klay Thompson rather than just hold his arm straight up and try and pressure the shot. Doing what he did is a guaranteed foul. Nursing a 2-point lead, OKC switches yet again on a simple pick and roll, forcing Russ to guard the bigger Klay Thompson, who goes to work on a gorgeous step-back jumper. Now here's something I like to see Russ do more of. Reggie Jackson gets the ball and under control probes the defense. He then gets the ball back and attacks the big man, again fast but under control, off 2 feet for the beautiful finish. The play before, Klay got Russ switched onto him and he posted up. Same play, but inexplicably Klay pops back out to the top, enabling OKC to switch back on the correct men. There is no ball movement, the play has died, and Steph takes a terrible long 2 with his foot on the line. Down 2, without calling a timeout to allow the Warriors defense to set up, it's Durant who brings the ball up. Lee hedges high on the pick and roll, and Klay Thompson is right on the 3-point line. I'm sure Mark Jackson would give Russ a 28-foot shot as the clock wound down every time, but Russ was money, nailing it and seemingly winning this game. More advanced thinking on defense for the Thunder. They start out with Sefolosha on David Lee and Iggy on KD. They do this because they know they're going to switch this down screen. That is terrific stuff, except for the part where Sefolosha, who had been having defensive problems all game, steps out on the wrong side of Iguodala. Then he gets caught up with the contact, pushing him even further out of position on the wrong side. A simple cut and pass gets Iggy a very good look, and he nails it. So there you have it, sports fans. I hope you don't think I was too brutal on Russ, but I don't know what to tell you. The guy runs the point guard position. He's angry. He does things out of anger and reaction instead of playing in the moment, and that frustrates me as a coach. And if I were there, I would be getting on him and probably get fired for doing it. So that's our breakdown for today. Lots of stuff coming into next week, so stay tuned for our Effin' Fantasy Show on Monday. Another episode of Court Call with Ronnie Nunn. So don't forget, if you see a call and you want us to go over it, make sure you tweet it to us with the hashtag Court Call, and we'll get to it if we can and give you a big shout out if we use it. So don't forget, at B-Ball Breakdown, we're not a channel, we're a conversation. You in?